So how do you approach science? Like, how do you think of things that are like worthy of study? Like, how do you find scientific questions that are interesting to you?
Well, the phrase you'll often hear is that what scientists go around looking for are puzzling observations, things that are perplexing. You know, that we don't, and so, you know, with bright coloration, very often we wonder, you know, with the puzzling observations, why is this animal brightly colored? And the reason that's puzzling is because you would think that bright coloration would put them at a disadvantage,
right?
By making them
like
conspicuous,
a target, yeah,
making them conspicuous to predators. So it becomes, you know, you really then wonder, what is the advantage of having this coloration? How does it enhance the organism's survival? How does it enhance its success in mating and reproduction? And so you start with that puzzling observation, and then obviously the next thing is to ask a question about what causes the animal to have that bright coloration. Why does this animal have this coloration? Then what you do is you'll generate a series of hypotheses for this bright coloration, and then you'll try to test those hypotheses by designing experiments and testing predictions about the outcomes of the experiments that are made from those observations. So that, for example, one of the animals we work with a lot is, we work with butterflies a lot because butterflies are brightly colored.
Wow, it's really beautiful. Can we hold it up to the hold up to the camera here? Yeah. So this, what kind of butterfly is this right here?
This is called the pipevine swallowtail.
I see.
And what we're particularly interested is that one of the things we're interested in is that blue coloration on the upper surface of the
it's really beautiful
wing right there. And notice how as I turn the butterfly, the blue coloration it goes away.
I hope that they can.
Back.
Oh yeah, I hope they can see that iridescence with the camera. Yeah. One thing I noticed is the colors are different on the underside, like where you're holding
right.
it.
Now this is the upper wing surface.
Yeah.
And the ventral wing surface is also brightly colored.
But there's different
so you can
spots.
see all these orange spots. There's also, if I can hold it correctly here. There's also that iridescent blue coloration on the hind wing as well.
They're different. It's definitely distinct. The two sides are definitely.
They're very different.
I see.
And what intrigued us when we started, I mean, I've worked with iridescent coloration like this blue coloration for a long time. But what intrigued us is that the blue coloration on the upper wing surface is found only in males. Females do not have that. But both males and females have this blue coloration with these orange spots on the downward facing or ventral wing surface.
Interesting.
So we wondered about, we've worked with some people to try and sort out how that blue coloration is produced. And it's, we can talk more about that, but we also became very interested in how what is the function of this iridescence? And of course,
males are different than females.
Yeah, so obviously, since males have this coloration and females don't, one of our hypotheses was that females prefer to mate with males that have this blue iridescence.
So the males have it as like a signal of attractiveness.
But then, okay, so fine, there's a hypothesis.
Right.
And so then we had to design an experiment to test that hypothesis. So actually where we ended up was at the Butterfly Pavilion at the Desert Botanical Gardens.
That's great, yeah.
And what we would do is we would take males, and we would put 8 males in that pavilion, 4 of which had their dorsal or upper wing color blue intact, unaltered, and another 4 males that had that wing coloration covered over with black ink from a black magic marker or Sharpie.
Oh, nice, a Sharpie. Sharpies and duct tape. That's pretty much what science is. Science is built on Sharpies and duct tape.
That's
kids.
right.
Yeah.
So then we had these 8 males in the pavilion, and then we took females that we had grown from caterpillars.
Oh, really? Okay.
So we knew that the females had never mated.
Oh, okay. You knew their whole condition, right?
They were unmated, virgin females, and then what we did was we took those females and put them in the cage with the males to see which males the females then would mate with.
I see. So are they all in the big pavilion, or is it a smaller space?
No,
just
they're
the whole
all
open
flying
space.
around.
So it's a big
freely
space. Yeah, we've all been
pavilion.
to those kind of butterfly pavilions. Okay.
Yeah.
And so which ones did the females go for?
Well, so this hypothesis, given this experiment, this hypothesis that females preferentially mate with males with the blue wing color predicts that the females should mate with which males?
It should be the males that have that haven't had the Sharpie.
Exactly, that haven't had the Sharpie applied to the wings.
Right.
And so we did this experiment. I think we did it a total of about 8 times, and we used 3 females in each experiment. And so we had 24 females, and of those 24 females, if I can remember the numbers correctly, I think it was that 18 of those females mated with the male that had the wing color unchanged.
18 out of 24.
And 6 of the females mated with males who had the had the marker applied.
Well, it seems like a pretty strong effect. Was that statistically significant?
It was statistically significant,
okay, right.
But it's like a lot of results in science. It's not completely clear
right.
cut, which then leads us to the conclusion that females are paying attention. They choose males with this bright blue coloration, but apparently it's not the only thing that they're using.
Right, right.
And so there are a number of other things they might be using, the male's behavior, chemical signals, but that at least permits us to conclude that this blue coloration of the males has this has a positive effect on male mating success.
That's fascinating. And
so that's how we tend to do things.
So it's about these, pick apart these many details to see how evolution can shape
and
coloration.
Similarly, we've had to worry about what females in these butterflies can see. Because for the dorsal wing surface.
So when we see these beautiful butterflies, I mean, to me, I just perceive it as beautiful. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing, but they're the different color patches, iridescence. It could be a message that's intended for all kinds of different recipients, including predators.
Right.
So some of the things that we see, it's like it's a male trying to be attractive to female, and then other things, the other patches are intended for predators to tell them don't eat me. Yeah. It's kind of weird. It's like, oh, I'm so sexy. Oh, hey, what are you looking at my blue iridescent for, fool? Now, this is the patch you're supposed to look at. This is the poison. It's like sort of like no, I am sexy, but this is telling I taste bad. So it's like it's kind of like it's like they have to have like a whole. I mean, it's interesting. So for you, it's a challenge to pick these many signals apart.
Yeah, that's right.
And to try to understand how evolution
and to design behavior. Yeah. Now I'm going to tell you one other thing that I think would be really valuable for this audience. First of all, in order for a characteristic like this blue coloration to be shaped by natural selection during evolution, one of the requirements is that if it varies in the population in some way, that variation has to reflect underlying genetic variation.
Okay, sure.
So that when you see one of these animals with a particularly bright blue coloration, because there is variation. Some of the individuals have a very bright blue as part of their warning coloration. Others, it's not quite so bright.
So the variation, that's the raw material.
Yeah, so that's the raw material
for natural selection to work.
The predators would be selecting.
I see. So there could be a whole range of iridescence.
That's right.
And then the predators are like they're out trying to get a meal. Yeah. And basically the butterflies that survive the best just because of their random genetic contribution.
That's right.
And that's how evolution works.
So what I wanted to say is that we have pursued the question of whether or not there is a genetic basis to the variation of these coloration in these animals, and this project was actually done by 2 undergraduates who worked in my lab.
Fantastic.
They came to me, they won research experience. This project came up as a possibility, and they said, we want to do that. And
that's
so
great.
They did that and found that there was a genetic basis to it. There was a very strong. What they did was they had females lay eggs in the lab, and then they took those eggs and they grew them into adult butterflies. And so they had the female and her offspring. Well, no, what they did was they had a so it wasn't a female so much, but they had a family. They had a group of individuals that were a family.
So
and they did this for like 15 or 20 females. So they had like 15 to
Families.
20 families
Okay.
of butterflies.
Wow.
And so the prediction, what they said was that, or the hypothesis, well, the prediction was that if there's a genetic basis to these guys, there should be a family effect.
Yeah.
In other words, some families should be brighter than other families.
Right, they should look different, yeah.
Yeah, if we have a family and it's really bright, or we've taken an individual out of a family and look at it and it has a really bright blue coloration, then you might predict that all the individuals in that family should be bright, and brighter than, say, a group over here which has really dull individuals. Yeah, they got a very, very strong family effect on the properties of the coloration of these guys.
What properties? Like just the brightness?
The brightness. I think almost all the properties. The brightness, the wavelength of the reflection.
So it's all inheritable.
Yeah. So
and this is all butterflies from the same species, from the same.
Yeah, this is pipevine swallow.
And there's that much variation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So normally in nature, like that variation would be, it would just be random. Like you wouldn't know it's a family effect. You might find butterflies that vary.
Yeah, if you went out in the field and caught
that one's brighter.
Caught 50 of these butterflies,
so you wouldn't know
and then measured their coloration, you'd see that there's quite a large amount of variations. Some individuals have a much brighter blue iridescence than others.
But you don't know what it could be caused by. It could be the diet or all kinds of things.
Sometimes it could be age. These animals
they
get wing wear, but we would focus on the field on fresh individuals, and so you get this variation.
Fascinating.
And then one of the predictions is that it has a genetic basis, and that prediction, the further prediction is that families of individuals should be more similar to each other within the family than they are to individuals in other families.
Like everyone in my family will interrupt other people when they're speaking.
Yeah, right. That may be learned.
And we just are constantly talking over each other.
Yeah, that may be learned.
My wife says that's a Schaefer trait. I don't know, but so they actually did. That's fantastic. And
so those are
undergraduates. Did they publish that result?
It was written up. One of them did it as an honors thesis. We're still looking into publishing it.
I mean, it's like then you could dig deeper and say, well, okay, what how could we identify the particular genes involved?
That's right. Yeah.
And so that could be years.
Yeah, that's right. That'd be somewhere down the road.
So fascinating. So I mean, to me, it gets right at the heart of what evolution is all about. And there has to be variability, and then the variability, and if it affects survival, that's evolution.
That's right. Yeah,
that's right there.
It's one of the components. For natural selection to work, you have to have variation in the trait. That variation has to have a genetic basis, and that variation has to be associated with differential survival and differences in survival and reproduction.
That's great. You basically just summed up everything. You guys could just stop watching the rest of the class because Professor Rutowski just has stolen my thunder.
Yeah. Right. So for these butterflies, we have evidence of all three of those things.
Okay.
We know there's variation in the field. We've seen that.
Yep.
We know there's a genetic basis to it, and we know that the dorsal wing surface blue is associated with male mating success, and so there's the potential for sexual selection to act on that. And the ventral wing surface coloration, we know that the blue is associated with successful survival by warning predators.
That's fascinating. And so, well, this has been a very interesting conversation. Thank you.
Good.
You really hit so many fascinating things, and you have a really interesting research system. I wish we'd gotten Dr. Pegram in here also to talk about her research. And just want to thank you again, Professor Rutowski.
You bet, Zach.
And so,
my pleasure.
All right. Well, guys, we'll see you out there.
Good luck.
Yeah. All right.
Get into research.
Yeah, exactly. All right.